This is the weekend edition of the news on DBS TV. Thanks for being with us as we go through major news stories in Cameroon, Africa, and the rest of the world. We open this edition with news on a worrying political scene in Cameroon as observed by the International Crisis Group. The international NGO deplores the state of politics in Cameroon, which it describes as drowned by ethnicity and tribalism, marked by the escalation of hate speech between supporters of President Paul Biya and those of the opposition leader Maurice Kamto. In an official document published by the NGO on Thursday, December 3, 2020, titled Easing Cameroon's Ethno-Political Tensions on and Offline, it looks at the political atmosphere over the past 2 years since the holding of the 2018 presidential election, with focus on the ethnic-related tensions of the Cameroonian political scene by supporters of the President of the Republic who won the said election, Paul Biya, and supporters of opposition Maurice Kamto, who has not ceased to claim victory since this election. The ICJ therefore advocates for interaction between the Cameroon government, opposition parties and civil society in order to curb discrimination and tribal hatred and, above all, limit inflammatory content and disinformation. It adds that the government should undertake electoral reforms, ban discrimination, and work with social media platforms so as to curtail hate speech. Number 6 election approaches for regional councillors to be voted. Cameroonians in their different sectors are expressing divergent views as concerns the place of the would-be councillors to impact the living conditions of Cameroonians. To some, it will be an opportunity to speed up the process of development of the regions. Given that it is the first time, they think that we need to be optimistic and judge them on the field. To others, regional elections reminds them of the acceleration of the process of decentralization taking shape in the country with all its ramifications. As such, some think that it would bring the administration closer to the people and thus accelerate the level of development of the country. On the other hand, others see the contrary altogether.
I'm confused as to ask whether they put laws and they keep them to wait until when problems start to arise that they want to put the laws into practice. So I don't think that even what they are doing now about the regional elections is going to solve the Cameroon problem. Cameroon is having a problem. We have the issues in the northwestern south, the war in the northwestern southwest. We have Boko Haram in the north. I don't think that is the regional elections that is going to be the solution, because they have over-accumulated problems. And I think that now like this, the issue of the regional elections is not going to be the solution.
Taking the example of what is happening in crisis regions like the Northwest and Southwest regions, some feel that these regional delegates may not be free enough to bring about the much-needed developmental changes in the country.
We are merely playing political gallery. It is political gimmicks. And to an extent is political banditry that we are living, because we are living the same scenario. The status quo is being reinforced, not even maintained, reinforced as the day passes by. Regional councillors are coming in to equally have their booty. As some parliamentarians have been there for 10 good years in the hemicycle, they are super rich. Why Cameroonians live in abject poverty and in plenary? Regional councillors are going to equally enter the same system and scenario.
Being a political adventure, anything is possible, even the fact of going beyond expectations. The world is for sure still battling with the coronavirus pandemic, but also with HIV and AIDS still ravaging lives across the globe. December 1 marks the World AIDS Day, just as every year when the world unites to show support for people living with HIV and to remember those who have died from AIDS-related illnesses. HIV infection remains the #1 killer disease in sub-Saharan Africa, where up to 67% of the world's 33 million infected people live. In Cameroon, as per statistics from 2018, 540,000 people were living with HIV. This infection rate is observed to have increased, not only in Cameroon but globally, with more children and adolescents being infected. According to data from the National Committee for the Fight Against HIV and AIDS, Cameroon recorded 37,435 new HIV and AIDS infections in the first quarter of 2020. This brings the prevalence rate of the disease to 3.1% against 2.7% in 2018. This rate is higher in certain regions, notably the south with 5.9% and the center with 4.1%. The situation is worsened by COVID-19, which has caused a drop in hospital attendance, but also an observed shortage of antiretrovirals for some time. On the World AIDS Day 2020, therefore, the World Health Organization calls on global leaders and citizens to rally for global solidarity to overcome the challenges posed by COVID-19 on the HIV response. That is why this year, the day is commemorated under the theme Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility. Cameroonians on Tuesday, December 1, joined their efforts to that of the international community to end AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. The 33rd edition of the World HIV and AIDS Day in Douala was marked by educative talks and the sensitization of the vulnerable population by 3 non-governmental organizations.
We have a combination of 3 organizations which have come together. We have Association for Women Empowerment, for which I am the CEO, and the Change Care Foundation, and another organization. We decided to come together today to talk to IDPs, people who have been internally displaced from the Northwest and the Southwest. These our 3 organizations are based in the Northwest and in the Southwest. But we have realized that due to the current crisis, the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest, and the too much killings, we have a lot of internally displaced people who have moved to Douala. So we targeted them that they will be the ones that we are going to reach out to, talk to them about HIV.
Celebrated under the theme Ending the HIV and AIDS Epidemic, Resilience and Impact, the Change Care Foundation, in collaboration with the Association of Socially Vulnerable People, ASOV, and the Association for Women Empowerment Cameroon, AWEC, mobilized over 50 internally displaced women and girls who received foodstuff and will further be assisted in carrying out screening.
After here today, we're trying to arrange for testing. So tomorrow we try to gather some of them so they can go in for testing and find out if they're positive or not. If they're positive, we're going to do counseling, we're going to follow up with medication and stuff like that. Because right now, with the ongoing crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region, you have a lot of them now that doesn't have homes, they have kids, they lost their husbands, they lost their properties, and they need our support right now at this very moment.
AIDS remains a major public health problem in the world, and people who have been displaced by violence are particularly vulnerable to health complications. The history of Cameroon is covered at a level of just 2% in Cameroonian schools, according to the Cameroonian Society of History.
Because of lack of knowledge of history of Cameroon, because this history is taught in the program at 2% everywhere in the Cameroon, and it's not normal. Everywhere that they want to construct the patriotism of the population, they taught the history, the national history. This national history should be taught in Cameroon in such a way that every Cameroonian could defend his country wherever he is.
They say the situation has to be reversed and Cameroonians have to be taught at least 75% of their history. This would give the people a better view of the beauty and heritage they possess, the historians insist.
Our country is a very good, beautiful country. We have very good, beautiful Cameroonian, but we lack something. We lack the knowledge of our history. Many Cameroonians know a lot about history of the others, but little about their history. So we need to change the parameter and oblige all the Cameroonians to know who they are, where they are coming from, and what should be done to preserve this beautiful country.
This was the main point of focus in discussions of the Cameroonian Society of History as historians from across the nation came together in their 5th edition, organized at the University of Ngaoundéré. The historians outlined that one of the root causes of the socio-political problems in Cameroon is facing today can be traced to the lack of appropriate knowledge of the people's history and subsequently of their cultural identity.
Because what we're seeing today is just the recognition that nobody knows his history and is taking the country as a joke. We should not continue to see this derail and to continue. We have to put an end on it by teaching to our kids who are coming the reality of their history.
As solution to the ignorance and its devastating effects, teaching the right history and the right way may spare the country of similar predicaments in the future.
We should not teach them as what they taught us, the history of vanquished. They have to teach us as the history of those who were vanquished, but they don't want to continue to be vanquished. This is the lesson we want to let be known in our country today. That's why, according to the situation we are facing, we want that history try to enlighten those Cameroonians of what they are and what they should not do again.
Since Cameroon history and its role in cultural heritage awareness were in the spotlight, a rich display of diverse cultural characteristics of Cameroon was also incorporated in the annual rendezvous. The burden had become too heavy to bear for government bilingual high school, Bankim, that of offering education to its thousands of students with insufficient classrooms and other teaching material. The school received a bulk of students not only from Bankim in the Mayo-Banyo division, Adamawa region of Cameroon, but also internally displaced students from the crisis-hit Anglophone regions of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon who found refuge and a chance to pursue education in the struggling school. Looking at the great lack, the principal of GBHS Bankim sought help from the Bankim Development Committee, abbreviated CODEGBA, a cry for help to which the organization answered by providing a number of 50 benches and other didactic material to help boost the school's ability to educate their growing number of students. Receiving these items was relieving not only for the administrators but also for the students who couldn't hide their joy. They thank the sons and daughters of Bankim for thinking of them.
We are thankful to the elites for giving us benches because I guess some of our classes never had enough benches. The students were more than the benches, and in some cases some students even had to sit 4 per desk and they complain a lot to the administration, so we are very thankful to the elites for the benches. We are very happy.
I was so impressed by the ELIC, their decision, but I wish to add that education is the backbone of everything on earth. Without education, one cannot go far. Which ones will say a quotation that Mandela said, through education, Africa can change. By then I say, I give more courage to the elite of Bankim, especially to the external elite who have done their best to see that children learn in a very good good atmosphere.
The beneficiaries, however, also called on more citizens of goodwill to follow the lead because much is still lacking to make education there conducive. This aid, donors say, is just the beginning of solutions that Kodekba is bringing to GBHS banking and its numerous problems, especially with the difficulties of overpopulation. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo, running for re-election, and his main opponent John Mahama have signed a symbolic peace pact on Friday in the capital Accra, committing to use legal methods in case of election dispute with regards to the country's upcoming presidential election. In effect, the pact was not in vain as the presidential election campaign came to a peaceful end. Ghanaians will go to the polls on Monday in a contest that will revive old rivalries between the two long-time politicians. 10 other candidates, including 3 women, are vying for the nation's top job, but the vote is essentially a fight between 2 foes who will be competing for the post for the 3rd time. President Nana Addo has recommitted himself and his party to accepting the election outcome, whatever it may be, as he said, "Above all, I pledge that the peace, unity and safety of Ghana will be our primary consideration." Similar peace pacts were signed before the 2012 and 2016 elections, but this was the first agreement that included a commitment to the eradication of vigilantism, which entails vigilantes, a group of young men hired by parties and deployed to provide security for politicians, and which usually cause problems at polling stations. Previously, however, the Ghanaian army was deployed to the volatile Volta region in preparation for the December 7 presidential election. The Volta region is mainly seen as the opposition stronghold, thus the government reported that the deployment is a prevention of an uprising that could interrupt the elections. U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered the withdrawal of nearly all U.S. troops from Somalia by January 15. The United States has about 700 troops in Somalia, focused on helping local forces defeat the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab insurgency. The mission has received little attention in the United States, but has been considered a cornerstone of the Pentagon's global effort to combat Al-Qaeda. Those U.S. forces left in Somalia will be based in the capital Mogadishu, and some of the troops would move to neighboring countries, allowing for cross-border operations, officials said. This decision is the latest major military policy decision being taken in the final days of the Trump administration. U.S. officials said on Friday that it is a part of global pullback by the Republican president before he leaves office next month that will also see him draw down forces in Afghanistan and Iraq. However, some experts have warned that the U.S. withdrawal could encourage armed militants in the Horn of Africa region. Somali lawmakers and officials have also said any U.S. drawdown would be disastrous and boost for terrorists. In a contrary story, after being deployed on Thursday, a United Kingdom peacekeeping mission of 300 troops have arrived in Mali this week, the British Ministry of Defence has announced. The mission, comprising 250 soldiers and a support team of 50, will be based in Gao, some 320 southeast of Timbuktu. The troops is mandated to conduct patrols and gather intelligence and dialogue with the local populations to help the UN respond to threats by extremist violence and weak governance, the ministry statement said. In the part of the West African nation, militants have repeatedly attacked French, European and local armed forces, including a 2017 suicide attack on a military base that killed more than 50 Malian citizens. British Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said the deployment was a demonstration of our firm commitment to peacekeeping and the importance we place on improving security in the Sahel. Britain has rarely operated militarily in West Africa, leaving the lead to France, the former colonial power. But under Boris Johnson's leadership, the UK wants to show it can act, in the repeated words of the mission's commanders, as a force for good. With this mission, the UK forces joined 56 other countries in the peacekeeping mission. We are proud to be the first British soldiers to join in this team effort, Commanding Officer Tom Robinson said, adding that the peacekeeping troop brings years of experience on operations, first-class equipment, and exceptional people. This 300-troop deployment is part of a 3-year deployment mission by the UK to the Sahel nation. The health regulatory body of Bahrain has announced the authorization of emergency use of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer and German partner BioNTech. The approval came on Friday, making Bahrain the second country in the world to grant authorization for an emergency use of the vaccine, the Bahraini National News Agency reported. Bahrain has approved the use of Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine that will be used for high-risk groups, said Mariam Al-Jalama, CEO of Bahrain's National Health Regulatory Authority. It added that the decision follows an intensive study that was conducted based on the results of the vaccine in terms of its safety and effectiveness. The approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine will add a further important layer to the kingdom's national COVID-19 response, Mariam added. The Gulf Arab state, however, did not say how many vaccines it has purchased nor when vaccinations will begin. The United Kingdom was the first to approve the vaccine on Wednesday. The emergency use authorization in Bahrain marks a historic moment in the fight against COVID-19. BioNTech, which owns the vaccine, said it has so far signed deals to supply 570 million doses worldwide in 2021, with options to deliver 600 million more. It hopes to supply at least 1.3 billion in 2021. In China, 18 miners have been confirmed dead after a carbon monoxide leak at a coal mine in southwestern part of the country, state media reported on Saturday, the region's second such accident in just over 2 months. There were altogether 24 miners who got caught up in the accident at the Jiao Shudong mine in the city of Chongqing after the gas leak occurred on Friday. As of this morning, 1 survivor and 18 victims had been found, and rescue efforts are underway to reach 5 others still trapped underground. The accident occurred while workers were dismantling underground mining equipment, CCTV reported. The mine had been closed for the previous 2 months. Another accident at the mine claimed the lives of 3 people in 2013. China's mines are among the world's deadliest, with 16 deaths reported in late September after high levels of carbon monoxide trapped miners at the Songzao coal mine in Chongqing. It's reported that mining industries in the country has a poor safety record and regulations are often weakly enforced. Following yesterday's incident, investigators are working to determine the cause of the accident. That was it for this first weekend edition of the news on DBS TV for the month of December 2020. Thanks for watching, but don't go away. Stay with us and have a great weekend in the company of our programs on DBS TV.